Okay, so I'm not sure why I ended up like seeing this video. Maybe it's like I subscribed to this guy back in the day or something. I'm not sure. But I watched a little bit of it and I was just kind of getting annoyed. And it's like, I think some like long-term subscribers of mine might understand why.
Spiritual bypassing. Is this merely an excuse that people with minimal experience and skill use to hide their own lack of development from themselves? Or is this a real thing? So, what is most often being referred to through the term spiritual bypassing is a lack of development done in the emotional side of our being.
Like already I'm like, did I subscribe to this guy or something? Okay, let's just go back. Hang on.
Spiritual bypassing. Is
Like, what
this
the fuck is
merely
that?
an excuse that people with minimal experience and skill use to hide their own lack of
Like, I'll be honest, I've never heard of the term spiritual bypassing before.
development from themselves? Or is this a real thing? So, what is most often being referred to through the term spiritual bypassing is a lack of development done in the emotional side of our being. And, this word gets thrown around a lot. In my experience, the vast majority of people that do throw the
Okay, so I guess I'm like definitely not in his sphere or world because he said this phrase gets thrown around a lot, right? I've literally never heard it. I think the only reason I clicked on it is because like spiritual bypassing. What's that?
this word around
Let's go back a little bit. Let's not disturb the flow.
being. And, this word gets thrown around a lot. In my experience, the vast majority of people that do throw this word around are using it to make it okay to their own ego. That they don't understand the words, teachings, and experiences of people who maybe have been on the path a hell of a lot longer. If you're doing some personal growth work and you're looking at sitting with your emotions and that's the extent of your work is in the emotional body, then very often you'll hear words of people who've done a lot of alchemical work and transmutation type work. And it'll seem like, no, that can't be real. That can't be real. So because I haven't experienced this thing, this quality.
Okay. So he's talking about people, I think, who are doubting claims made by either gurus or people who are claiming that they have, I don't know, gone further down a spiritual path. I think that's what he's talking about. People who are doubters, you know.
And it'll seem like, no, that can't be real. That can't be real. So because I haven't experienced this thing, this quality of skill, it can't be real. Therefore, this person is making this up, is hiding.
Oh yeah, exactly what I was saying. Right. Yeah, yeah. So like basically, and this is something I'm probably guilty of. Like I think pretty much no one's really more enlightened than me or less enlightened than me. And I think through personal experience of meeting enlightened people who have done a lot of spiritual work, etc., that actually tend not to be any more or less enlightened than any of us. So I guess I'm a maybe I'll fall under this spiritual
This
what's it
thing,
again?
this quality
Spiritual
of
bypassing thing.
skill, it can't be real. Therefore, this person is making this up, is hiding the pain that I feel from themselves. So this is at the crux of most of this type of talk, right? I am experiencing dukkha to this particular degree. This person seems to be free of suffering, but that can't be true because my experience is the real experience and the only experience, and everyone should be subject to my current level of development, interpretation.
I get it. Okay, yeah. No, I mean, if he's talking about peace, people can achieve different levels of peace, for sure. But often the people, spiritual type people that I've met who have attained some kind of peace, if I've hung around with them long enough, it's more like they've just kind of been very good at repressing stuff, and know them long enough, they kind of explode and do some crazy fucking shit.
Understanding and skill. So we want to be very, very aware of why we might be throwing phrases like this around. Now, can it be a real thing? Yeah. You can reside in certain bandwidths of spiritual transformation, certain bandwidths of light, etc., and not really need to engage with the lowest parts of yourself. And when you are bringing that energy through, instead of bringing that particular refinement through every aspect of your being, you can sort of sustain a type of connection and relationship in the absence of bringing it through the depth.
Okay, I'll be honest, like, this is a problem I have with, like, spiritual talk, is it's kind of very unclear and ambiguous and kind of, what's the word? Just not direct. Like, I'm lost already.
Transformation, certain bandwidths of light, etc., and not really need to engage with the lowest parts of yourself. And when you are bringing that energy through, instead of bringing that particular refinement through every aspect of your being, you can sort of sustain a type of connection and relationship in the absence of bringing it through the depths of density. The pain that arises, the dukkha that can arise when we bring highly refined states of consciousness, of light, of awareness.
Like, this whole, like, highly refined, it's like a hierarchy, basically. Like a hierarchy of awareness. Can't it just be that there's different levels of awareness, and like when you're in this frequency you get this idea, and when you're down there, they're talking about up or down, or down here you get a different, it's like different ways of experiencing life, rather than the goal is to be what he's saying, like high frequency or something. It's basically a hierarchical idea, which I think is just a hangover from our schooling, like you in grade whatever, you do these exams and you go to the next grade. It's the same sort of thing. Okay, or you go to karate, you start off a white belt, then you get like a, what is it, a brown belt, and then you get like a blue belt. It's just kind of this hierarchy bullshit, right?
Every aspect of your being, you can sort of sustain a type of connection and relationship.
And there could be like a white belt who's just pretty fucking good at fighting and strong, which could kick a fucking black belt's ass. Fact.
In the absence of bringing it through the depths of density. The pain that arises, the dukkha that can arise when we bring highly refined states of consciousness, of light, of awareness, and unity down into the depths of density of normal physical experience, it can be a lot of, quote unquote, suffering. It can be a lot of pain there. So, of course, there's a tendency to stay in these higher bandwidths and to not necessarily work on really integrating it through.
This is kind of a side note, but this whole kind of like, what do you call it, like Western idea of Buddhism. I'm not saying he's talking about Buddhism, but the core thing is like life is suffering. I truly believe is a massive mistranslation. It's not that life is suffering. It's life is struggle. And it's a huge difference.
Fully and completely. Okay, now part of the process of becoming, say, a divine creature, let's say you're doing deity yoga or something, is the
So it's like becoming a divine creature, like becoming black belt, fourth dan in karate equivalent.
you're really embodying it as fully as you can. Now, the greater the rhythmic swing between the refinement and the density that you go down, the greater the perceptions of pain will be, and the greater the, ontological or existential crisis that arises might appear to be, which means that your equanimity, your emptiness, your relationship with Akasha has to be strong enough to exist in the depths of density, as well as refined enough, pure enough to be an elevator right through, in, behind, and around the highest levels of refinement that you're capable of attaining at this.
Like, I'm sorry, it's like, and I'm not like attacking this guy or his beliefs or something, but a lot of this whole sort of thing that he's talking about is kind of like, it's like when Tony Blair used to talk. It's like a lot of words, but that don't make much sense. Like, it should be kind of simple. If something is a truth, it's kind of simple. And it should be simple to communicate.
Point in your development. Okay, so most of the memes, etc., that you might see out there that involve spiritual bypassing go, hey, this hierarchy of like animals on the bottom and man at the top, etc., this pyramid with man at the top, and greater skill and lesser skill, etc., this is spiritual bypassing. And this thing, where everything's the same thing, this is real spirituality. And I cannot think of a better way to hinder your own development than by convincing yourself that you have the same skill as someone who has spent, 7 decades, 8 decades of their life in the depths of meditation.
And what the fuck have they learned from the 7 or 8 decades of meditation? Like, for me, if I think of a spiritual person, it's not some guy that sat in a cave staring at a wall for fucking 7 decades. I think a guy who's lived 7 decades, so I'm guessing you're talking like some 90-year-old or something, someone that's like been through some hard shit. They've had a family, they've learned what it's like to have kids, grandkids, maybe they've had like deaths in the family, maybe they've been to war, maybe they've been a businessman, maybe they've been poor, they've had experiences in this realm. I think, I'm not saying like it's a better or worse thing, but who's going to have like a more spiritual knowledge? Someone that's experienced a lot in life, or someone who's just been really good at meditating for fucking 7 decades, or someone that's had 7 decades of like the highs and the lows, the fucking trials and tribulations, the challenges, that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? Like this kind of idea that like spirituality or gaining it is not through experiencing life, but by meditating. I just don't fucking get it. I think it's the kind of like a myth.
There's a lot of arrogance in that.
Hang on, he
So
just
we
said
want to
arrogance.
be,
I think he's talking to me because I'm arrogant as fuck. Hang on, here we go.
etc. This is spiritual bypassing. And this thing, where everything's the same thing, this is real spirituality. And I cannot think of a better way to hinder your own development than by convincing yourself that you have the same skill as someone who has spent, 7 decades, 8 decades of their life in the depths of meditation. There's a lot of arrogance in that.
Okay, so then I'm arrogant as fuck, but I extend that arrogance to pretty much all the people I know who have not spent their time chasing spirituality and meditating and all this kind of stuff. I think all of us are pretty much as enlightened as anybody else. We all have a dream and a delusion that we live in some way, but some guy who sits on the mountain, fucking cross-legged looking down, he might just get one perspective, but it's not better than anyone else's perspective, you know? He might be sitting up there having whatever experience he's having, or as he says, skill. What about the guy who's like down there, and maybe like he's in debt? He's got to like do something crazy. He's got to get some money to like pay for something, or whatever, you know? Or maybe like he's just got a job he hates and he's having to like persevere with it. Whatever, like it doesn't. How is a guy sitting on the mountain cross-legged, or the skilled practitioner in meditation, how is he any more enlightened than anybody else?
So we want to be, and what are you actually doing when you make that separation? You're literally doing the thing that you're calling spiritual bypassing.
Like I realize I might be projecting that he might not have said that the idea of enlightenment is like the guy sitting in a cave. Okay, but I'm kind of probably projecting that, but he hasn't kind of said anything yet that makes me think he's talking about something else.
This hierarchical whatever by going, hey, everything's the same, so we're better because we're not this. And, it's...
No, I don't think like people that don't meditate are better than people that do meditate. I don't think the guy sitting in a cave for 50 years chasing enlightenment is better or worse than the guy working in a mine or something, you know? I think, like he said, that we're all kind of equal, which apparently is an arrogant position, is it?
It's literally the exact same thing as your little meme of what spiritual bypassing might be that you might see out there, right? So you want to be aware of the motivation behind what it is that's being said and what it is that you're looking at. How does it support the efficacy of your own value, of your own perceptions of your development and your skill? How does it support illusions of where you might, have some work to do? These are things we always want to look at because it's so easy, and it is everywhere. My group is better than this group.
I'm just saying maybe we don't need to improve ourselves so much. Maybe we don't need to chase some enlightenment, because if you think enlightenment's out there somewhere, you're automatically believing that you're not enlightened. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of a trick of the mind. I don't believe anyone is enlightened, and I believe everybody is enlightened.
How does it support the efficacy of your own value, of your own perceptions, of your development and your skill? How does it support illusions of where you might, have some work to do? These are things we always want to look at because it's so easy, and it is everywhere. My group is better than this group because we blah, 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 right? This is the thing at a low level that brings a lot of community together. Why would you not join this community? Well, you join this one, and so because you're in this community or this community, you tend to abide by and
I think it's everything's kind of so vague in this video that I don't really know what he's talking about. I mean, that makes it interesting because then I'm responding to like my projection of what he's saying. But this is a problem with a lot of these sort of spiritual videos. They're so vague and not to the point and not direct and not clear that I guess that's how they work because they apply to whatever people want to like project onto them or something. Whereas I'm doing a critique, right? So like I'm projecting sort of what I don't agree with it, but if I wanted to be into it, I could kind of fit a lot of what he's saying to just kind of agree with whatever I'm thinking already.
of where you might, have some work to do. These are things we always want to look at because it's so easy, and it is everywhere. My group is better than this group because we blah, 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 right? This is the thing at a low level that brings a lot of community together. Why would you not join this community? Well, you join this one, and so because you're in this community or this community, you tend to abide by and find a resonance with the particulars of that community's other, expression of boundaries, right? Of who the stupid people are, we're smarter, etc., etc. So be aware of this and look at when, how.
Well, that's like the whole in group, out group for any in group or out group. It applies to everything. Maybe the karate guys think the Aikido guys are dickheads, you know?
Why you're lumping yourself into a particular category to satiate your own need to be right, essentially. That's what it comes down to. We need to embrace uncertainty, embrace the space of a question mark, possibility, openness, right? You cannot have, he says definitively, spiritual growth in the presence of imposition, right? Of barriers. You can make progress.
This is what I was saying before. Like, I think some of the, because I've met some very like spiritual people who I don't think are as clued up as people who've like kind of lived life, gone through impositions or whatever, you know? Like I say, I'm just fucking projecting onto this because it's kind of vague.
A particular category to satiate your own need to be right, essentially. That's what it comes down to. We need to embrace uncertainty, embrace the space of a question mark, possibility, openness, right? You cannot have, he says definitively, spiritual growth in the presence of imposition, right? Of barriers. You can make progress, but if your aim is a liberative space, eventually, then we need to be aware of where we are, our own habits.
Like, what's a liberative space? Like, can't we just, like, speak clear English, man, when it comes to these kind of things?
Embrace uncertainty, embrace the space of a question mark, possibility, openness, right? You cannot have, he says definitively, spiritual growth in the presence of imposition, right? Of barriers. You can make progress, but if your aim is a liberative space, eventually, then we need to be aware of where we are, our own habits, intentions, and identity are limiting that very liberation. And group identity is one of those things. This is why the spiritual path is an individual path. You can have
I probably just got like I probably just got a low IQ because I kind of can't follow her.
is a liberative space, eventually, then we need to be aware of where we are, our own habits, intentions, and identity are limiting that very
Tensions
liberation.
and identity.
And group identity is one of those things. This is why the spiritual path is an individual path. You can have groups, friends, communities, support, but communities will raise the individual if they're just beginning to the level of the community.
This is kind of an aside, but it's kind of interesting what he's talking about when he says about the individual, because this is something fighters say, like, boxers and stuff. Like, when they're training for a fight, it's an individual fight. Like, yeah, they obviously got their team supporting them, have got their family supporting them, have got everything. They got the support, but it's an individual fight to get as good as you can, so that when you're in the ring, you'll be like as good as you can be, and hopefully like win the fight, right? Not that this is what he's talking about, but it's very interesting. It's exactly what fighters say.
Your own need to be right, essentially. That's what it comes down to. We need to embrace uncertainty, embrace the space of a question mark, possibility, openness, right? You cannot have, he says definitively, spiritual growth in the
I hope you when he says he's not talking about Muhammad, because then I might get completely banned for this video.
presence of imposition, right? Of barriers. You can make progress, but if your aim is a liberative space, eventually,
Liberative space.
then we need to be aware of where we are, our own habits, intentions, and identity are limiting that very liberation. And group identity is one of those things. This is why the spiritual path is an individual path. You can have groups, friends, communities, support, but communities will raise the individual if they're just beginning to the level of the community, and they will pull down the growth to the level of the community as well. Okay, so it is an individual path and experience that is then reflected through every interaction that you have. Okay, so spiritual bypassing. Be honest with yourself on both sides of the spectrum there. Be honest. What is, if you're deemed,
Like, this is my personal opinion. I think the worst waste of time you can do is to try and have spiritual development and a spiritual path. I think just living your life you're gonna have some kind of spiritual path anyway, and it's going to be just as good or just as important, or maybe more so than chasing some spiritual growth. That's what I think.
Demonizing hierarchy. What hierarchy are you placing yourself in relation to that demonization? Okay, this is very, very important. Self-reflection. Okay, self-reflection as a part of the path, especially if you're teaching. If you're teaching in a position of authority over other people, and this can be subconscious, because when someone is coming to learn, you open yourself up as much as you can so you can absorb as much of the teaching as possible. If you're in a position where people are open to you in that way, we want to be really, really careful how we discuss what we do and what's out there. We want to be very, very cognizant of what type of barriers we're going to build in to someone else's identity. What type.
And basically, anyone that's been around long enough will know that most gurus of any kind are charlatans to a quite a large degree. I guess it's because of maybe the pressure to please a student, or I don't know, like some kind of inherent nature of people. When somebody like looks up to them to be a teacher, kind of fool themselves so they can fool a student or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think a lot of this whole spiritual thing is just kind of bullshit.
Of candy we're going to lay out for someone's ego to latch onto. Why are you teaching? Right? What are you trying to impart? And if you can treat the act of teaching as sacred, the act of learning as sacred, especially in these spiritual arts, then we can do it from a place of equanimity, and we can avoid the habit of cultivating in our students the very thing that the path is there to liberate us from, right? As a friend of mine mentioned very poetically, I believe this is in the words of Rumi, every teaching is a thorn being used to remove another thorn. So, as the Hippocratic Oath goes, that part, do no harm. How do you share spiritual stuff and do no harm? How do you only, to the best of your abilities, speak to the freeing, to the liberation, to the sovereignty of the beings you might be working with? Okay? So, anyway, hope that clarifies a few things or offers some perspective.
Okay, like I think maybe the last part, I still didn't understand it. He just sort of hope that clarifies things. I'll be honest, like, I'm way more confused than when I started this video. I'm confused about the video. I'm confused about my response to the video. I'm just fucking completely confused. So when he says, I hope that gave you some clarity, I'm just fucking completely lost now.
So thank you for watching. If you're interested in training, I'm offering a retreat coming up here in June 2025 in Hermetic Alchemy. This is a spiritual attunement, right? We'll be doing Qigong, nature magic, some advanced meditation, a lot of advanced meditation.
Okay, I think like this kind of shit, I've been a bit of a cant in this video. I'm just finding out he's talking about a particular kind of meditation. Yeah, it can be really helpful for people, I guess. I guess he knows his shit. I guess he's like helping people and shit, whatever. But that's not for me, man. I don't need to go to no retreat. I don't need to do no meditation. I do okay just like living life, like I get my lessons every day. I think kind of we all do. That's just my opinion. If his like teachings help like calm people down, or I don't know, like cure their depression and shit or whatever, that's fucking great, and I'm all for it. Just it's not for me.
Meditation. And this is going to be a lot of fun. It's 16 days. So if you're interested, you can check the details in the description of the video here. It'll take you to the website. I also offer online courses in Tai Chi and Qigong, Hermetic Alchemy, and meditation. And if you're interested in private
And I think like I don't know, like Tai Chi's kind of like that martial art thing where like you move your body around and stuff. I think that's actually kind of cool. Just it's like body awareness and what do you call it, like coordination, things like that. It's kind of good. Like we don't get to move enough, a lot of us in life and in our jobs, sit down typing sort of shit.
teaching, private coaching, private lessons, you can shoot me a note. These are 2-hour sessions, and we can do our best to organize a time. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one.
Okay, so yeah, like interesting video. I'm just gonna go back to my spiritual growth of just living every day.